What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Comic-Con podcast. Today is August the 11th. We are recording this, and of course, on a Friday morning. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're listening to this. I am, of course, one of your hosts here, Justin, aka Nemesis Prime, hot off the heels of the C2e2 drama with my man, buddy, and friend, Zach. What's going on, man?
Yo, what's up? This feels like this has been like the longest week in terms of comic book drama and news and stuff. And we were just talking offline a little bit. I'm sure we'll touch on it a bit later, but this shit just never stops this week. It's been kind of very exciting. I feel like I've spent more time on social media, and I spend very little time on social media, to your dismay, I'm sure. And I've been on my phone on social media a lot this week.
Everyone's tagging us, and you're checking out Instagram stories and
new friends.
Reels.
It's crazy.
It's pretty wild. But, again, we did the live. So if anybody hasn't checked out our live discussion, rant, whatever you want to call it, it's on our YouTube channel, obviously the Comic-Con podcast. Go over and check that out. Obviously, the reason why we did that, and we even said it in our video, that we have this week and the next couple of weeks, we have some guests lined up, and we really didn't want to spend the entire show talking about it. So our first Canadian guest of August is our man, Blakk Crown Comics. What's going on, BC? How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. Happy to be here. But yes, I agree, man. It's still going. And guys, it's about to rev up to 9,000 because we are hitting Boston Fan Expo.
Anything can happen.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's the thing. If Boston wasn't happening this weekend, like if there was no con that they said that they were going to, it may die out. But now, knowing that everybody's anticipation, if you're listening to this, you're at the show or whatever, and you're probably seeing stories on Instagram because that's what's going on.
Yeah,
it's going to be interesting the moment the doors open at I don't know if it's 10 a.m., 12 o'clock, 1 on a Friday, who knows, but it's going to be so wild at Boston, and I really wish I could go, but I have to head out to Pittsburgh this weekend.
I saw someone sharing photos. There's obviously a certain shop who's there selling certain books with special covers. But anyways, their booth apparently is circular, right? So I mean, all eyes are going to be on them.
Oh, of course.
And I'm excited to see all the posts and see what happens, man. I hope people don't get too wild over this stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. So we brought you on here. Of course, let people know where they can find you, obviously on social media and some YouTube, because we want to talk about that. You're obviously a collector. We want to get a little bit of background on you. Zach and I are kind of bouncing back some questions, talk about, your collecting and origin stories of, how you became Blakk Crown Comics.
Sure, man. So yes, you can find me on Instagram, Blakk Crown _comics, and it's a Black 2Ks. No C. So BLAKK. Now, you could also find me on the Comic Kingpins, and that's at your own risk, of course, on YouTube. But
those are good shows. Then, if you say at your own risk, those are the channels people want to listen to.
But yeah, no, we have a great time. It's every Monday night. We go live at 7 p.m. Eastern, and then after we have other shows that pop in periodically. We have bi-weekly shows, Show Me Your Hauls, which is actually playing right now as we're recording. We have FOC shows every Friday or Saturday. I don't know. We rotate. And then we have a monthly show called The Retrospect. Now, The Retrospect is where we go back to random years selected by, Instagram followers and those who select the years on our IG posts. Because we post up, let's say, a photo, and we tell people, guys, select the years you want us to go back to revisit of that month we're in. So, example, we're currently August. So, let's say, I don't know, you might pick 2008. We'll go back to 2008 to see what books dropped in August 2008, and we see how the spec played out on certain books.
I like that.
Nice.
I like that a lot.
Yeah. So where in Canada are you at?
I'm actually in Montreal, man. So I'm in fucking. It's a shit show here. I can tell you that much. the hobby here in Montreal, man. I swear to God, I don't know if it's the pandemic. I feel like before I was just able to hit up an LCS and literally find gold. You know what I mean?
Right.
Some sweet gems, but now pandemic hit and it's like everyone's a collector. It's crazy.
What's the shop ratio out there? Are there a lot of shops? Like just a few?
There's quite a few, man. So I speak to other people. Obviously, like Comic Kingpins, we're five guys spread out. Like four of us are within Canada. You have Hyper, who is actually a local here with me as well in Montreal. Then you've got Comic Dude. He's out in near Ottawa area. So you know he's got his shops, but there's very few. And I know that even when I speak to Newbie or Keys is part of the Comic Kingpins as well within their area that they're from in Ontario. You know, very minimal shops and whatnot. It seems like they're very scattered. Whereas here in Montreal, and you've got shops pretty much like downtown area's got about maybe 3 shops. Then you can find, I don't know, maybe 6, 7, 8 in certain areas on the island. But it's I don't want to start name dropping them all, but there's quite a few. I actually live on the North Shore, so it's considered Laval. So you have Laval, Montreal, and in that area too, we have more shops. So it's cool.
Awesome.
And I like that you're similar to like Zach and I on like Lords of the Long Box, because we're all over the place. Like,
Oh yeah,
you
all
know,
over.
the main 5 guys, you know, you have like, I'm in Jersey, you have Ryan who's in like the Michigan area, you got Tim out in the West Coast, Zach's over in Texas, Otto's up in Connecticut, and then you got thrown in like JB and Gabe loves 90s. You got the Vegas area, and he's up in Oregon, I think, JB now. Like, so the fact that like we're all over the United States, you guys on that channel are all over Canada, so you get different perspectives. And like Zach and I always talk about this here in New Jersey, there's a stone's throw to the next comic shop. It's a tiny state. I swear to God, it's probably at the most comic shops per capita. And then Zach, like where he's at, it's like what, 2
Nothing.
shops by you?
I got like two real shops, and then, you know, like maybe I can think of one for sure, maybe one other one that kind of pretty much just like weekly books. I mean, there's no real digging in long boxes, and I've been here for 15 years. Those boxes are dead, bro. They're empty. There ain't nothing there worth having.
That's the thing. And I do want to mention, yes, we're 5 guys, 4 of us are Canadian, 1 is an American. That's FaceTime. So FaceTime's out in the States, so we get some goods, you know, those American goods that we don't get here in Canada, because you guys are spoiled with comics. I'm not gonna lie. Okay,
the East Coast, bro. That's the East Coast. The East Coast is spoiled with comics, dude.
It's nuts. I was talking to Face, and I know he had gotten I think it was the Iron Man, not Iron Man, sorry, Avengers. I can't remember what issue it was, but it was the gritty variant. They were giving it out at the Philadelphia Flyers games.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, there was only like 5,000 copies and shit. I was like, dude, I so need that. He's like, I actually have 2. I'm like, how the fuck?
Nice.
Speaking of that, it's funny that you actually said that. The shop that I go to way down in South Jersey, Panther Comics, he actually had that, and he was actually the first one to slab it, and came back in 98.
Oh, good for him, man. I'm surprised, because I heard they were giving them out just.
He brought bags and boards, and you know, like after the game, he was like looking around like underneath the seats to see if anybody, you know, just like put it under there, because even in, you know, okay condition, you know, I'm sure you could sell it to somebody who, you know, wants the book. So yeah,
it's crazy really to go to a game with bags and boards, bro.
They do the Funko Pops too, man. You know, you ever see the Funko Pops at baseball games and like soccer games?
Never, dude. I see some Funko Pops. Am I looking at Funko Pops behind BC right there?
Oh yeah, I've got tons, but this is not even half of it.
So, you know, when did you start collecting? You know, are you you know, obviously I don't want to say influencer because we're already past that. Are you like a collector? Are you just, are you a reader mostly? You like flipping? You know, what's kind of your title? You know, I'm everything. I like doing it all. But like for you, you know, are you on Whatnot? I'm not sure. Like, have you gotten on there yet?
Not yet. I actually, so it's funny story. I'm not allowed to be on there.
Oh shit!
And it's not influencer status issues. It's really not what it is. It's Whatnot, unfortunately, does not meet the language laws in Quebec. Quebec, I told you, it's a shit show. It's a special place. So French language, it is what it is. But maybe it was crazy. This guys, who knows? But long story short, collecting, dude. What kind of a collector? All around, man. I read like crazy. Like I said, we do FOC shows, so Wednesdays hit, and I'm there trying to catch up on everything. So definitely a huge reader. Collecting, I started basically when I was about I was a kid, man. I would say I don't even know what age. I would say I was maybe like 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. My my aunt took me to a comic shop. We happened to be walking by, and she took me in there, and first thing I saw was Spidey Venom. That's really what, caught my attention, and that's where it started. The love started then. The cartoons were blasting in my face. The 90s. I think we all lived through that, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
If you're in your 30s, you guys, we all did this. So
Yep.
Yeah.
but that's really where it started for me. The X-Men cartoons, we had the fucking Spidey cartoons. Everything was Marvel, like it is right now, right? It's being blasted, and it's crazy because with the MCU, Disney Plus, Netflix, everything, my kids are obsessed. Right?
Oh, that's awesome.
It's gonna continue. The hobby continues.
You know, it sucks, dude. When I was back when we went to Terrificon, Justin and I were going around all these shops, and we went out to I believe it was Sarge's Comics, and they had a ton of toys and stuff. And all I can think is like, dude, we didn't have any of this shit when I was a kid. Like, you never had like the cool X-Men toys, or wherever I was at, it didn't feel like. I remember being able to see them at, like, remember KB Toys, Justin?
Yep.
Like,
Oh,
you
yeah.
could see them at KB Toys occasionally, but like I never saw them anywhere else. Now you got like the Marvel themed Legos. They got everything. Spoiled ass kids these days, man. Like,
Big time, dude.
had to like strive for something comic book connected back then.
No, we got lucky if we got those fucking Happy Meal toys, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Definitely. It's crazy. Like you said, yeah, the 80s and 90s toys, no articulation. Now it's like the Marvel Legends and the Black Series Star Wars stuff. It's just like the detail, and you're like, man, I wish I could have this stuff and like be playing with it, like battling characters and whatnot. But it's weird.
I want to say that maybe my wife doesn't know, but I think she's obviously knows by now. But like, I always like. I don't want to say I spoil my kids, but like when I pick up something, whether it's a Funko Pop or whatever, like, I'm picking this up for my kid or whatever, and she could tell, like, it's totally going to my PC.
Right. Well, you share it with them. I mean, that makes sense, though. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's fun because, joking aside, there are things that I do pick up for him, and I'm living vicariously through him, right? Like, I'm getting to relive some moments. That example. I'm a wrestling fan. I don't know if you guys know this, but I still watch wrestling, sadly. but I still have all my action figures, my wrestlers from when I was a kid. Okay. Now my kid's playing with them, and I'm busting out the ring, the tables, the ladders, the chairs. I'm like, oh! So, yeah.
Interesting. So how did you come up with the name Blakk Crown Comics? Like, is it, obviously you're not an LCS, but, I know most people kind of some people would throw in comics at their last name if like the name's taken, but how'd you come up with that, BC?
So the whole Blakk Crown thing, my last name translated from Italian to English is Black. So that's really where it stems from. I'm Italian background, so there you have it. And then the crown, I was a musician. I was playing I started when I was 16. Stopped playing at about 25. So those 9 years were huge years to me, and the band represents the crown represents the band. So
nice.
That's the Blakk Crown, and in the comics, I'm here to talk everything and anything comics.
Nice,
so
nice.
what's your go-to title? Like, who's your focus? I know your whack-ass friend Newbie is an Iron Man fan, like the last one standing. So always searching for the lame-ass Iron Man shit. So who's your go-to?
Dude, I want to say that, like, obviously growing up, Spidey's been my thing, but realistically, Spidey comics suck. The older I'm getting, the more I'm hating it. So, like, I just don't want to read Spider-Man anymore.
Thank you. I feel like you're the only person who agrees with me there.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Dude,
we just became best friends.
Yo, dude, Nick Spencer ruined Spider-Man for me beyond. Like, beyond.
Horrible.
It was the worst run ever, and I'm not afraid to say that, dude. It's anyways. But fucking Kindred, right? But yeah, but anyways, yeah, Spidey was really what got me into comics. Like I said, Spidey Venom. Obviously, when the pandemic hit, everybody hopped on with Venom, and that's when I started to kind of get turned off. I was like, once something becomes popular, you tend to like shift gears, right? So
Right.
I started going indie, guys. I really started to like dip into something that's
Nice.
killing the children and all these other things.
Mhm.
So I was shying away from that, and then I was missing the boat on what was happening with Venom. So I said, hey, I don't want to mess up, right? So I got to start collecting, and I ended up missing Venom 3 completely, completely.
Damn.
Yep.
I feel like that for me a little bit. Like I almost missed Something Is Killing the Children 1 when that first came out.
Yeah.
Because even though like I do everything, I do Marvel, I do indie, I do DC, I was collecting so much indie, and I was just kind of like at the point where I'm like, I need to stop doing certain books, right?
Right.
And I knew it was coming out, and I was just like, I'm gonna try. I was like, in my head, I was like, sounds like a cool title, but then I'm like looking at my like weekly books, and I'm just like, I'm getting everything. I'm
Yeah,
getting
something's
Deadly
gotta go.
Class, Monstrous, like East of West was still coming out, like Manifest Destiny, and then everything else, like Saga is still around, and I'm like, I can't. Like maybe I should just pass on this because it's like glad I didn't.
Yeah, no, you did great.
I
But
missed on it for sure.
oh no,
100%. I didn't start reading Something Is Killing the Children till probably about issue 12.
oh
It was
no.
way too late till at that time. So
I remember I was telling a few friends, I'm like, yo, there's the whole Wind preview in it was issue 7.
Mm.
And I was like, just that alone, like pick it up. And really I was noticing a lot of people starting to pick up around that time. So a lot of people were starting to get into Something Is Killing the Children within the pandemic. Like I would say when issue 7 was dropping, I was noticing more people hunting for it. Prices were starting to go up too, right? On issues 1, 2, 3. I think I picked up issue 2. I picked up 2 copies at about $10 a pop, and this was at around the time that issue 7 came out. Issue 7, issue 8. So now we look at that in the 9.8. It's fetching what, like almost $200, $250.
Yeah, they're pretty
Something like that.
pricey. Those single digits.
Yeah, so it's nuts. It's a great series, but you asked me a question earlier. Okay, you asked me, am I a flipper? Now, do I flip? Not really. If I have stuff in my PC, yeah, I'm not a dirty flipper. Don't fucking come at me. But I will sell things if I see, there's something I want. It's in my PC. Like, am I attached to it? No. Okay, I'm willing to let it go.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I'm not buying just for flips. But I do hold. Like, example, I don't know, the latest book under me right now here is Swordmaster 1. I think I have like 8 copies here for no reason. So just to give you an example, but yeah, no. So I'll sell if it can help me pay for a future book, but I'm not gonna just go by flipping. Yeah, like I don't hop onto YouTube to promote my whatnot. You know what I mean, or things like that. I'm just hanging out, chilling, and shooting the shit about comics. That's all I started Blakk Crown Comics for.
Awesome.
Yep.
And that's how it always starts. Give it a year, and you're gonna be caught up right in the middle of the drama, like always, man. That's just.
Oh yeah.
I guess you're lucky you don't live by Newbie, because I feel like he always goes out hunting and then he buys 5 copies of some book for $2 or $1, and then like he's flipping and he's and that's what it is. I do the same thing. When Zach knows, we went out hunting in obviously Connecticut, and then at the shops or the show in Terrificon, I buy multiple copies. I try to flip some, I try to keep some, but the fact that you're buying, like, that's the way I used to look at it too. I used to buy for the hold, and then eventually I'm like, if I'm not attached to it or to get a bigger book, I'll obviously sell that to get something that I want. And I miss those days. I really do. But now it's just like I got into this, spec game with watching, Tim and the Lords before I was on the Lords, and everyone talks about it. And obviously that's what it is nowadays. Everything's a spec. Everyone's spec. And I never looked at it like that. I was just buying books to buy books. And I'm like, oh, I'll hold on to this for 5-10 years. And now we're at that. So,
but dude, I'll always spec. Spec games are fun. It's a fun game. It's
right.
It's a rabbit hole though.
Oh god, dude, it's the worst sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I spec, but I'll spec not just MCU related. I know that that's the main driving force for speculation lately, but even in comics, like example, latest one I could bring up was Iron Cat, right?
Mm.
So that was something that people were speculating on. I got lucky enough to speculate correctly and picked up the book for like $2. It's somewhere here.
Mhm.
And then after it started to take off, right? What's her name? Tamara Blake?
Mhm.
Yeah. The yeah, that annual, that spectacular Spider-Man annual. Yeah.
Exactly. So like I was happy to pick it up for $2 and I was like, oh, it's a Spidey book that's still not in my PC. So I just want to pick it up before it's too late, not for the flip. So that's what I did.
Do you have any Grail books that you're currently hunting for, or have you attained your Grail? I mean, I know you said you're kind of Spidey. We could obviously see the background a little bit. You got some obviously X-Men in the background and some Spidey stuff. So is there something that you're hunting for 2022 or?
I have 3 books left on my master list, meaning the 3 big ones. And then after, I have an entire side quest, which I've been focusing more on, unfortunately. But the big 3 is Fantastic Four 49. Yes, I know this is going to hurt.
I was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
See how that goes.
ASM 238. It's just an ASM book still missing in the collection, so I want to make sure I lock that down. And the last one is Iron Man 55. And again, it's not even because of all these books having recently popped. Thanos is one of my favorite characters even before the MCU. I just really enjoyed the Infinity Gauntlet comics, right? So just having his first appearance was something I wanted to lock down, but every time I keep saying I'm going to pick up the book, it keeps jumping up, man. So now,
well, I feel like now's the perfect time for that book. That book is definitely kind of dropped and settled a little bit.
It's coming down, but I feel like every time I'm like, okay, now's a good time, and then it's like, oh, but Pip the Troll news. I'm like, fuck.
First arrows, yeah.
Yeah, I know. Like, fuck, shut up.
Man, I'm actually looking at just while you're talking, I was cruising. There's a 9.0 for 2,100 best offer on eBay, which that's a pretty decent price. 2,000. You could probably get that down like 1,800, 1,900 the person, maybe.
Yeah.
9.0. That's a good.
That's you.
So, of course, you know, we have some articles to talk about today. And, you know, you haven't talked about this issue that's going on with C2e2. And before we get into the articles, you know, what's kind of your quick thing? Obviously, we don't want to touch on it anymore. You know, what's your, you know, take on the whole acetate gate, staple gate / influencers?
Dude, look, fuck it. Just the name influencers. One is like,
it's cringe.
Yeah, it's completely cringe, and I was pissing myself when now I'm seeing T-shirts being made online, which yeah, I'm dying, but it's just it's absurd, man. And I think there's, you know, let's cut out the influencers for a second, okay? Take them out of the equation. Look at CGC, BlackFlag. Those are the two. Those are the two that I really am puzzled by. Mostly CGC with their grading. I think it's complete bullshit. I was telling one of my friends, I'm like, it seems staples don't really matter anymore. So like, why are we getting certain grades and why are we getting different colored labels on certain things? That's what I'm trying to understand. So an example is I'm hunting ASM 238. Well, might as well just go fucking buy one that doesn't have a tattoo, save some money, put a random tattoo from a dollar machine, staple that shit, and give me a fucking blue label.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
Right?
Yeah, you know, somehow to marry it back in there, and it, you know, if you get lucky and you don't get a green label saying that it was taken out and put back in. So
yeah, but it's just it's really CGC. It's very questionable what took place there. BlackFlag, man, I don't know. It's really odd how they handled this. Maybe they thought it was a good idea for fucking some reason, but clearly not. We've seen how they've even tried to defend themselves online, and that video I think got taken down and then resurfaced.
It's so bad.
Yeah,
so bad.
It's nuts. Now, other people getting involved. I think what's even more whack is we're literally watching influencers, right? I'm doing the hand gesture. Influencers, literally fighting each other, man. They're literally calling each other out online on videos, and they weren't even at the fucking con. I don't know what is going on. So I'm like, dude, this is turning into a shit show. That's literally what it is, and it's only gonna amplify, I think, this weekend. I really think shit's gonna hit the fan.
Yeah.
I think you're right about like in terms of the whole issue. The CGC issue, in my opinion, is like the long-term, long-lasting issue. Like influencers, and I air quote it as well, influencers and companies like Black Flags, those shit will come and go. Like those people will burn out, change jobs, whatever. But CGC is around in the community and has such a weight in terms of grading books and making decisions on your books and your PC and everything, that is kind of the biggest problem. And honestly, like, it's also the most frustrating because, look, we can get rid of people like Black Flag. We can get rid of these influencers. That's a solvable problem. And hopefully the community will realize that and do that. But how it doesn't feel like we have any power with CGC. It doesn't feel like anyone has a voice with CGC. Like, even when they were questioned about it, they were just like, well, you know, we deemed it was okay because it was another Staples and blah, blah, blah. And then CBCS comes out and says like, psych, no, which was like their best marketing they've done probably in like 2 or 3 years for their business. But it doesn't feel like we have any voice with CGC. They just have like a monopoly and carte blanche to do whatever the fuck they want.
So I shit you not, I was even thinking of doing this as a test just to see how it's going to come back as a grade. My kids, I have a 3-year-old and my second is 10 months. First birthday is coming around. I was thinking of taking a blank, add an acetate, put his fucking handprints on it, send it to CGC. I want to see if it comes back a 9.8.
Do it.
I think I will. I'm going to fucking do it.
What's it cost? Like $20? Screw it. Do it. Yeah. $40 to grade it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then get people in the community to bid it on a Comic Kingpin's YouTube channel live show.
No. That shit's staying here with me. That'll be a personal slab. Never going anywhere. But
I'll even take it as a green label. If it comes back a green label, just take it. Be like, hey, look, this when he grows up, and be like, hey, these were your handprints. You remember this day?
Yeah, but you see, if it would come back a green label, that would be shit, dude. Because the other one's a blue label, right? So
yeah, they don't care.
That's what I'm not understanding is CGC's. There's no explanation realistically, right? They didn't really clarify anything. I don't feel like they did at all. So
no, nothing.
Yep. No, not at all.
Definitely. So again, let's move on. We got a little bit to know about BC here on the podcast. So let's take a look at some of the articles that we got lined up for today. So Zach, why don't you take us with a little bit of more information that hit from C2e2, but did not really go anywhere because there was so much more bigger things going on.
Dude, it's crazy. C2e2 just seemed to be like this biggest shitstorm of all time.
Yeah,
but this one kind of flew underneath the radar, and probably because it's kind of like one of those like, I don't know what the saying is for the elderly will be the elderly type thing. And I feel like I've talked about this before as well, how I met Chris Claremont at a con, and I'm a big X-Men guy, and it was great talking to him. Of course, he's created like the high points of the X-Men history, but when I met him, it was kind of a strange conversation. So this article deals with the situation with Chris Claremont at C2e2. So the article is titled X-Men's Chris Claremont delivers a surprisingly raw and controversial hour for fans at C2e2 2022. So Chris Claremont and Art Adams were supposed to have a spotlight, but Art Adams got injured and wasn't able to make the con. And so Chris Claremont kind of went up and did a little spotlight by himself. And I'm going to kind of abbreviate this because it's a pretty long article, but check it out. You can find it over at thepopverse.com. But basically, Chris Claremont starts talking about what his plans were for the X-Men. He had goals to kind of let me backtrack. It really all starts, someone asks him about Gambit and the creation of Gambit and everything. And he goes on to talk about how for him, Gambit was always going to be a bad guy. And it was really going to move towards Gambit was being used to go after the next leader of the next generation of X-Men, which was Kitty Pryde. So that was kind of his whole arc was supposed to be. And so in that vein, Chris Claremont had this whole idea that Storm was going to marry Black Panther, obviously earlier than she did. She was going to get some kind of like piss off the Panther gods, and they were going to change. This is wild. Going to transform Kitty Pryde into their agent, transforming her from her original self into the black child of Aurora and T'Challa in the process. So he goes on to admit that this was racially insensitive idea, but one that he joked he could get away with because I'm English and we've been doing this for 1,000 years. Like, someone needed to be like, come get your grandpa, man. He can't talk like this in public. So anyways, it kind of goes on, but he also focuses a lot on how comics are supposed to be fun, which is just wild to me. This idea. He goes, comics are supposed to be fun. You can have a bad issue. They're only $3.99, $4.99. Wait 30 days and you can turn it around and maybe it'll be good next issue. And as like an avid reader, I'm like, hell no, that's a horrible strategy, dude. If you don't have like good story arcs, you're really going to piss me off. So he also kind of goes on and talks a little bit about his thoughts of like the MCU. And he hasn't really been a big fan of this next phase, which I feel like the majority of people are kind of feeling the same way. But for some reason, he throws out that they should have put Ricochet Rita into the MCU and would have made Thor more interesting. I don't know where he's getting this shit from, dude. Like he needs to get back on his meds or something. I don't know. But he criticized the Eternals. Yeah, it was just some wild stuff here. But, you know, he also goes on to talk, and this is the kind of where at the end of the article, you kind of understand, and I actually kind of feel for him, and I'm like empathetic to his situation. He says it is, let's see, where's the end of it? He talks about, once again, about comics being so fun, but then he goes on to talk about how he's kind of getting like edged out, right? So he says, it's weird working for people who weren't hired when I was fired the second time. He said at one point during the panel, now I know how Stan Lee felt in the later days of his career. So, you know, that is like a weird feeling. You know, you create, let's say, the X-Men. You are like the quintessential, I don't care. Stan Lee created the X-Men, but Chris Claremont made the X-Men. Let's be honest. So you come in, you get ousted for whatever reasons, you know, that's the industry. And you come back and there's some new cat who's in your spot telling you how to write the X-Men and telling you can't do this. And like, it's got to be weird, man. I mean, obviously that's life, you know, you age and the younger generation comes in and takes your place. But for someone who was so pivotal for the X-Men, you know, I feel for him in that way. So yeah, I don't know. Kind of a crazy interview with Chris Claremont, where I'm sure whoever the panel host was like, okay, let's wrap this up. But he's a very nice guy. Like I said, I met him in person. He's very, very nice. I don't think there's a mean bone in this guy's body, but damn, he rambles, and it was an awkward conversation I had with him as well. So when I was reading it, I was like, yo, I'm there. Like I can picture this shit happening the way it did. So
yeah, it was that bad.
Yeah.
BC, you know, what do you think about Claremont's thoughts, and, you know, even what he originally talked about, like what he was going to plan to do for the X-Men and Gambit, like really staying as a bad guy?
So first off, if that entire Kitty Pryde story would have taken place, I really wonder what would have happened, one, to the X-Men in general, two, Uncanny X-Men 129. Would that have tanked and not been as sought out after? Right. But I think, look, to begin with, like you guys just said, not one of those, it's one of those come get your grandpa moments. No filter. It's no filter. Like you said, not a mean bone, man. Claremont is like, he's pillar. He's fucking beyond important when it comes to X-Men. So I understand also the end part. Like, dude, it must hurt, man. Like having all these new faces now taking full reins over what is almost considered your baby, pretty much, right?
Right.
So that's interesting. I agree with him on Phase 4. That's for sure. Phase 4. Look, let's not go too harsh on Phase 4. I think we'll appreciate it as time goes by.
I'm with you. I think we're gonna look back and it's gonna look better.
Exactly. And I keep saying it. Even Eternals. I know everyone shits on Eternals.
I actually really liked Eternals.
Yeah. Wow. I really think we did become best friends because best sex scene ever. No, I'm just kidding.
Hell yeah. 1-on-1.
Yeah, but no, jokes aside, I do think Eternals is going to play out very important down the line. But regardless, I understand where he's coming from. I think if the whole Gambit thing would have played out, where he would have been a villain throughout the whole time, man, there's a lot of things that what he had envisioned would have probably changed a lot for the X-Men long term, right? So like we're talking years worth. Claremont was there from what we'll say mid-70s to almost Jim Lee time, right? Like 90s.
Yeah, like giant size X-Men on pretty much.
Yeah, exactly.
So like about let's say Uncanny X-Men 300-ish roughly.
Yeah. So Yeah, exactly. So, dude, like, there's so much story afterwards that's taking place that I just think would have changed drastically with those changes, like so drastic.
Comics is a weird medium too. If you think about it, like I was trying to, while you were talking, I was trying to think about this in my head. Like, what other medium is there really where you kind of just come into an art form and you play a role in it, but you don't control it? Like, I mean, you think about movies. Okay. So, like a filmmaker, that's his movie, that's his thing. Yeah. It might get rebooted, it might do whatever, but like that classic, that's his. Um, Same with like traditional art, your paintings or whatever, that's yours. But comics, I mean, you think about something like, you know, Action Comics #1. It's getting created. You created Superman in 1938. It's now 2022, and that
Yeah.
shit's going on. How many people have actually like put in a part? That's a weird feeling, probably, to think, like you said, your baby. That's not really actually your baby. You didn't create this. It's almost like you just come in, you play a role, and then you move on, man.
Well,
It's
dude,
strange.
it is strange, but realistically, that's part of life. It's literally
Right.
what it feels like even at work, right? So
Yeah.
I get a promotion in a position. Now I have to make this role, and then eventually someone's gonna have to fill it, right? So that's just the way life goes. But
Maybe it's why there's so much creator-owned titles these days, where people like actually want to have like, that's me, Spawn's mine, that's mine forever. Something is killing the children, that's mine, it's finished, it's going to finish or whatever. No one can really touch it again, type thing.
So yeah, it's funny you mentioned that, because that's what I was going to say. Is the majority of these guys are like, example, we'll speak Tinian. Tinian, a lot of the things he's touched, he's mostly closed, right? So like, Wind ended up wrapping up, but now here it is, it's coming back, right? So we'll see how that goes. I don't know, but a lot of the current runs tend to be ending. Seven Secrets with Tom Taylor.
Yeah,
that ended, and that was it. So Tom Taylor did it front to back. So I'm noticing a lot of series ending quicker, especially on the indie side. Whereas Marvel, DC, it's just these things keep on going.
Yeah,
they're legacy characters. Yeah.
And we talk about that here on the podcast. What's the cutoff point? Where's the nice niche of when's the story ending and I'm done? But now it's funny. You literally just said Tinian, and obviously he's done so much. Like Something is Killing Children, House of Slaughter, Joker, and I forgot that he did,
Batman, yeah.
Batman, but I forgot that he did Wind, and it's amazing, like, to think about that. And we always talk about that as a writer. How do you create all these worlds and keep them so streamlined?
Yeah.
At like the end of the day, you're just like, I cannot believe like this person's writing all these different series, because back then, like, Claremont just did X-Men, right? And Wolfman just did the Titans, like Teen Titans, and that's all it was. It was one title for each person. They weren't bouncing back between all these, Marvel, DC, indie projects. Like, it's wild to think that nowadays writers just have the mental capacity and the ability, not to say obviously not all of them, but like James is just unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well,
it's like you just said, like, Claremont was doing X-Men, but then after he would do like, Captain Britain. There was the Marvel Team Up 65 with Spidey, Captain Britain that he did. Those were mostly like one issue here, a few things here and there, but like you just said, man, Tinian, I don't know how, especially that it's complete different worlds. Like, I don't even know how you can sit and take the time to focus and really break down such details in a comic, because you're jumping from one world to another nonstop, and it's just insane. And props to these guys. I don't know how they're doing it.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. All right, let's get on to our next article. We're flipping from some Marvel comic news, I guess, to some DC stuff. So, of course, it's been a busy week, and it wouldn't be a week without our friend Ezra Miller. So, of course, what do we got?
It's Miller time, and I'm feeling fine.
That's right, man. We got the Miller Watch, Ezra Miller back in the God. I don't even know why.
That's so great.
Yeah, it's crazy. So before we go ahead and read this article, the latest that actually just got posted over on Instagram, Ezra Miller reportedly filmed scenes for The Flash this summer, despite all the legal trouble that's going on. That's crazy.
Yeah.
But the article in question over at the direct.com, Warner Brothers preparing worst case scenarios for DC's Flash movie cancellation. So of course, everything that's been happening in Hawaii and Iceland and here in the States with him
Yep.
and all the burglary that's been the newest thing, the burglaries.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just absolutely insane. So the article goes on and talks about that DC Warner Brothers Discovery has possibly 3 different options regarding this. So the first thing is that the Flash movie will move forward as planned, which is what I still think will happen. Obviously, Zach is on the other end of this. The second option would be for Warner Brothers to continue with the movie's release, even if Miller declined to seek help. This would result in Miller playing less of a part in the Flash's marketing and promotion, and the role being recast for future DC projects. Or the final and third one, which is basically what's been happening over at Warner Brothers Discovery, would scrap the movie release altogether, and it would just be an unprecedented decision for the blockbuster at a on that scale. So nothing, with everything being done, the reshoots in question, and just completely scrapping it. But as of now, it's still set for June 23rd, 2023. I don't know, man. I love how we randomly get the Miller time here.
Dude, it's awesome. It's awesome. Honestly, it's so great. There's gonna be like a Netflix documentary about this one day.
Oh,
My wife actually sent me an article last night. We were laying in bed and she was like, "Hey, did you see this about Ezra Miller?" And I was like, "Send it to me." And so there's an article about his time also. I don't know how old this was. I'd never known this one, and we've been keeping watch with the Ezra Miller watch. But apparently, like he was in Iceland and he was living in this Airbnb or whatever. He was running an Airbnb, and they were saying it was basically like a cult. And so this girl goes and stays at this Airbnb, and there's like, look, I'm gonna be honest, there's weirdos around in there. She said everyone looked like they were hypnotized. He had his personal assistant and spiritual advisor, Jasper Youngbear, would lead the group meditations that Miller even alluded to possessing supernatural powers. It goes on to say like he had erratic mood swings when anyone tried to leave the house. He became angry when she tried to use the phone in front of him or them or whatever. I'm gonna mess up his pronouns. I'm sorry. She felt trapped and intimidated before eventually texting a friend to come get her. Yeah, just tons of weird shit. Oh, this is a good one too. His attitude would shift without warning. She just described one incident of guests changing a song in the house, which caused Miller to fly into a rage. They snapped from a friendly host to this really angry person. I mean, all jokes aside, if you aren't realizing this guy has like something going wrong, there is like a chemical imbalance. There's an issue.
Yep.
Like all jokes aside, Ezra Miller needs help. Like, and yeah, man. What do you think, BC?
Dude, like you just said, the guy clearly needs help. Now, Justin, you were just saying there's 3 scenarios, right? So they are gonna release it. I hope if they do that, he's already getting help. And they've got to publicly let it be known that like he is getting help, because if they don't go that route, I think it shows a very poor hand on DC, and they're encouraging everything and they don't care. I think that's really the message they send out if they move forward without any of that. So that's my take on that. But clearly he's not okay. It is one event after another. I hope he gets the help he needs. And I'll be honest with you, even if DC decides to go the route of just completely abolishing it, didn't they just say they have a whole fucking 10-year plan? Let's hit reset now. This is a good opportunity. Like, let the man go get help and hit reset. Let's do this once and for all, because now, if I'm not mistaken, you have Batgirl who just got canned as well, right?
Yep.
This might be a great opportunity. Can this one if you have to. I'm sure it's a huge financial loss. But if you're gonna move forward, you're gonna have to do something with the man. You cannot leave him unattended. Like, get him help,
right?
And save face, at least on that end.
Nothing they can do, honestly, besides, no matter what happens in any one of those 3 scenarios. Let's say, besides the one where they don't release the movie, and the 2 scenarios where they do release the movie, it doesn't matter. They are going to look. Warner Brothers is going to look bad, because it's obvious this guy has issues. It's obvious he's done broken some laws. violated some people, assaulted people, it's going to look like what it is. Exactly. It's like money. We spent all this money. We want to recoup our losses. That's more important than the person.
Yeah,
And
but
look, I'm not saying that's not a big deal. It's a lot of money involved in this movie, but I don't think they can save face by showing
But-
this movie.
maybe what they can do is make him a public example
Yeah.
in rehab and this and that. The money made from this movie is going to, you know, this
Yeah. Charity or something.
charity, rehab, whatever, and we're gonna have him on a public eye at this point, like, you know, making sure he gets the help he needs. Because, man, how many celebrities have we seen go downward spiral and no one's even helping them, right? Like it's ridiculous. So sometimes they just don't want it. It is what it is. Like, this guy has no reason to be, you know, doing burglary. I don't think so. You know what I mean? The guy should have all the money in the world right now. Like, you're in DC, you're making fucking movies here. It's just it doesn't add up. So it's clearly something on a mental side, and I do think that it needs to be addressed. And I say that as politely as possible. It's very concerning.
Yeah, it's going to be crazy to see what the end result is. And obviously the one option where if he doesn't decide to have help, and then obviously they move forward with the movie, but he's not a part of anything, like the press releases, the movie tours they do. And yeah, I don't know. That's probably the best thing. I mean, obviously you want him to get help, but I think if he doesn't and he continues down this road and they still release the movie, and, you know, we've talked about this on the podcast where we feel like an end credit scene should just be obviously Flashpoint and or recasting him. You know, someone else would be the Flash. It could be another Wally. It could be Wally West, or it could just be another Barry Allen, just completely changing it.
Right.
Well, you said that they were doing reshoots even with all of this going on. You think maybe they altered an ending at this point? They you know, maybe write them off somehow. Like you said, a post-credit scene where something ends up happening. That's a possibility. Now, just very quickly, we have, like I said, the 10-year plan with the whole DC universe now that they're saying they're in the process of rolling out. We're looking at the current cast of, let's say, the Justice League. So we still don't know what's happening with Superman, right?
No, yeah.
No.
So that's one of your biggest players right there. So,
yeah, probably the biggest next to him and Batman, right?
Exactly. So at this point, you have him. You've got the Flash. Dude, apparently Black Adam now is going to have something where it's going to also shape and like change the ways for DC, right? In the post-credit scene. I'm sure you guys have seen that news. So exactly. Maybe,
and I think that's because of this. I think that's what they're also prepping for as well. I bet you they've filmed multiple post-credit scenes for Black Adam, depending on how this Ezra Miller Flash thing goes. And if they don't show that movie, they've got this one ready that's going to reshape and try to get it to where they wanted it to fit as the puzzle pieces, for sure. They're banking a lot on Black Adam. That's for damn sure.
Rightfully so, man. It's Dwayne. Dwayne is he's determined, man. I hope we don't get The Rock. I hope we get Black Adam. That's all I hope.
Yeah, it's gonna be wild, that movie. And it's only a few months away. So all right. So we really don't have any comic book news today. So but we did have I guess they would consider it should have been a summer blockbuster. I mean, I would think after not having any more Marvel movies, and I think Top Gun, I think, would be the summer blockbuster. But we had the release of Prey on Hulu. And Predator we haven't seen quite a while because obviously with 20th Century Fox being bought out by, you know, the whole Disney side, we finally get a Predator movie that just released last week on Hulu. And I know myself and BCC both saw it. We're going to do a little quick review because I think it needs to be talked about. If anybody hasn't seen it, obviously, you know, the people that know the original 80s Predator and Predator 2 and that terrible Alien vs. Predators, even though I like them, but that awful movie, The Predators, which came out, I think it was like 2017. And I really thought that was going to do anything, but that was like the last thing that we saw. But man, Prey is an absolute blast. I watched it 2 times in literally 2 days. I watched it. It came out on last Friday, and then my brother was over on Saturday, and we watched it again. And it's amazing. It's a prequel series. It's a prequel. It's really like a startup to the original Predator. It takes place in the 1700s. It's here in America where you have, a normal girl. So it's kind of what they're kind of doing, like women in power, and that's fine because most of the Predator movies have always been guys.
Mhm.
So to take her into this world of the Predator, it's pretty wild because it's set, like I said, it's kind of like a prequel to everything. The girl who's in it, she's obviously hunting this predator. The predator's hunting him, and I love this movie for the simple fact it's the first time that we actually get to see how powerful the predator is, and how the tools, the weapons, even though how sophisticated and futuristic they are in this movie, they're still almost like very basic and hunter killer style. So I definitely highly recommend the movie. Like I said, I've seen it now twice. It's something that, and I know BC also saw it as well, and he wants to rewatch it again, and I want to watch it for the third time. I think the characters that they were in it, I think that was a great job. I think the weapons, even for, like I said, for the hunter predator stuff, is amazing, and just the whole atmosphere of it being like a tracking movie, because that's what the main character, Naru is her name. She pretty much plays this whole story of, she's obviously a woman in a Native American tribe, and women back then, they were kind of just the gatherers. Like all they did was they go out and they'd gather food for the men who would sleep during the day, and then they would go out and hunt for game and food. But she wants to be part of the tribe. She wants to be part of like what the guys do. She wants to be like the tomboy, and it's just so amazing. Like her skills are just like a predator on the human. So just that symmetry, the back and forth, you see it throughout this entire movie. What do you think about it, man?
Dude, you nailed everything spot on. Like there's very minimal I can add to what you said, but one thing I will say, visually too, man. Dude, I'm surprised this movie went straight to Hulu. I was watching it in my basement and I'm like, dude, it can't be. This came straight to fuck. Because I was watching it on Disney Plus. That's how I ended up catching it. And I'm like, I can't believe this is straight to streaming. Like this makes no sense. Like I really thought this was going to be in theaters. And visually, it's gorgeous. Storytelling is great. I put it up there with the first Predator. It's like tied for it with me. Like that's exactly how I feel. The dog, that poor dog.
Oh man.
Yeah. That poor dog. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh yeah. No. Don't. Yeah. But yeah. So Rotten Tomatoes has it at 92%. The audience has it at 79%. It is the highest rated Predator movie as of right now.
Yeah.
It's wild to think that. I guess the thing was that they didn't really, knowing how bad I guess the last Predator movie was, they didn't really see this movie as really being able to be released. Maybe obviously when they were doing it and during COVID, they were like, you know what, let's just do it right to streaming services. Like Hulu really doesn't have anything at this time, but it is a, kind of a AAA title. And obviously with the Predator stuff coming back over, coming over to Disney. And, obviously at some point we're going to get an Aliens movie, I'm sure. But man, I highly recommend this movie. If anybody hasn't checked it out, it's a good hour and 45-minute run through. It definitely has some nice jump scares, and it really brings back to the Predator of like the 80s without a doubt. So Zach, I know you haven't seen it, so you really don't want to get into really good spoilers, but
yeah, I'm gonna watch it here soon for sure.
I mean you've seen the trailer. I would say BC the bear.
Yeah, dude, fuck.
Man, yeah.
I want to say more, and I won't, out of respect.
I know it's tough when all three of us haven't seen it, and obviously maybe a lot of the audience. But yeah, that's our quick review here of Prey. But of course, how we end all of our shows with what are we currently reading. So again, real quick, we want to appreciate everybody who stopped in on Tuesday for the live discussion. So if we have any new listeners this week, what we do typically here on the podcast, we always end our shows with what are we currently reading, whether they're titles that we're picking up on a weekly basis, something that just dropped this week, or something that is old that we're decided to reread. So, Zach, what do you got this week for what are we currently reading?
Okay, so this week maybe shouldn't be too much of a surprise for everyone. I'm going to go with the Ghost Rider one-shot, the Vengeance Forever. So they had a Ghost Rider one-shot, Vengeance Forever, that came out. Obviously, this year is the 50th anniversary of Ghost Rider, and this issue was kind of so the current Ghost Rider run is obviously Johnny Blaze, but it's been a little lacking on kind of like the mythology and the lore of Ghost Rider. We've got some new characters. It does look a little darker, and it seems interesting. It's going an interesting route, but they haven't really touched on any of, Dan Ketch, Michael Bandolino, or any of the past Ghost Riders. So in this one is like a little one shot where Johnny Blaze goes to this tattoo artist, Necro, who kind of like tattoos them, and you get almost kind of like a history of Ghost Rider, like important highlights, and you get you get a bunch of the Danny Ketch stuff. You get Vengeance, Michael Bandolino. You even get some Morbius and Blade, Midnight Suns era type stuff. But it was really cool. It was fun, especially for me, since I've been on this Ghost Rider kick, kind of like going down and visiting everything, like all the Ghost Rider history. But the cover's awesome. I'm looking at it right now, and it's just like Ghost Rider with his back all tattooed up. I'll show you guys if you haven't seen it. It's a badass fucking cover.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah, it's really, really awesome. Benjamin Percy. So I liked it. And then honorable mention, I've talked about this a little bit before, and I'm really enjoying this series, is The Punisher by Jason Aaron right now. It's awesome, right? It's really, really cool. And you know what's crazy about that, BC, is like I've been talking about The Punisher before this new run came out, and I was like, man, this is a character that they haven't done anything with in a long time. He's just the same dude pissed off about the death of his family. And like the resurrection of his wife and kind of like this whole aspect has really put new life in the Punisher and made him a more interesting character than he's been in the past like 20 years, in my opinion. It's so good. And if you guys aren't reading this, here's the one thing I think that surprised me the most about it. I love Jason Aaron as a writer, but you look back at like his Avengers runs and stuff like that, that they're a little, what's the word? I don't want to say kiddish, but they're tame, I guess maybe is the proper word. But so I was worried about him to get such a gritty character like the Punisher and write that, but he's nailing it. It's awesome. So definitely check out the Punisher. We're only on issue, like 5 or 6?
It's 5. But dude,
5, yeah.
It's exploring some very interesting stories related to Frank Castle, man, and
his retcon of his backstory, right? Yeah,
it's incredible. Well done. I know people were shitting on it based on the new logo.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, look beyond that. Go read it, because if anyone likes the Punisher, you're gonna love what they're doing with his origin.
And you might even see the new logo, or the old logo, I mean, in this new issue.
Yeah,
so just heads up on that one. A little spoiler for you. So for all you people who are butthurt about the logo going away, it's back on this issue. So check it out.
Yeah. All right. BC, what are you reading? What are you currently reading?
Dude, honestly, literally anything, everything comics, everything coming out weekly. I try to keep up with the majority of it. Like we just said, Punisher. I read it. I know what you were referring to at that spoiler.
Yeah.
But dude, from Marvel right now, I gotta say I'm really enjoying the Carnage run. I think people are sleeping on that. There's some big things playing out. I think it's a great run. Radiant Black, the whole Radiant universe, dude, the whole Massiverse, dude.
Yeah.
Kyle Higgins, I think he's hit a home run. It's being perfectly written on all aspects, dude.
What's your favorite title in the Massiverse?
Radiant Black.
Is it? I'm a Rogue Sun fan.
I love Rogue Sun.
Yeah,
but it's just Radiant Black started it for me, right? So I've been there out the gate, and I've been enjoying it. Dude, the Captain America titles right now, there's some big things happening there. I don't know if you guys have been on that, but I've been enjoying that one too. What big events is there right now? There's Judgment Day. Still reading Something is Killing the Children. Mandalorian. I don't know. I'm just naming things as they pop to my head, but
that's good. And you're a reader. I mean, that's awesome. That we're having someone here on the podcast who's really like a deep down reader. We had No Good Comics, Justin No Good, a couple of weeks ago, and he's new to the hobby, and he's a reader. And that's awesome. That literally you're like us. You're a reader. Obviously we do other things, but at the end of the day, that's what we love. That's why we always end our show with this, because people want to know like what's a good title to pick up. If they're not reading something, for myself, I'm always like trying out new indie things, or if Marvel, DC, whatever it is. And that's awesome that you have all these titles that you're reading on a weekly basis. So I'm sure your pull list is pretty heavy, right?
Dude, it's bad. Like, it's fucking bad. I'll show you guys the second we wrap up, but I'll show you what I picked up just this week on New Comic Book Day. You pulled up that Ghost Rider Vengeance Forever, right? With the back showing. Did you pick up the PX exclusive?
No, I don't. So I don't do a lot of variants, but I've seen it. Is that the where he's actually on his bike? And there's also a black and white of both copies, right? I think.
Yeah, so there's a black and white and then there's a full color, but the black and white's the PX exclusive. So I got crazy. I picked up 4 copies. It's just that's just what I do. It's terrible.
Nice.
I know it's absolutely terrible. But like Justin said, man, dude, reading. It's really what we got into this for. It's what we love. And guys, I can't stress it enough, man. People tend to get caught up in everything happening, especially all the shit that just poured out from C2e2. But the hobby itself, remember the root, because it's the most beautiful part. Everything else, let it be.
Nice. Good stuff. So for myself this week, of course, honorable mention just ended, wrapped up, Kill Lock, Artisan's Wraith.
I left that one for you. I knew I figured you wanted
of course
to
you were going to leave that one for me. So it was originally scheduled, of course, for a 7-issue series, but Livio finished it, did a double issue for issue number 6. Such an emotional issue for issue number 6. A lot of stuff happens in this with, of course, the 4 robots in question from the original Kill Lock, and some things have changed over throughout this entire series. They expanded the universe, all the different classes, and we've talked about this before, and I'm sure we'll most likely have Livio on here in September to talk about it. I really want to pick his brain on now that it's finished. I really want to ask him a few questions regarding it. So honorable mention definitely goes out to the Kill Lock Artisan's Wraith. Another title that I actually was able to pick up first prints for was 8 Billion Genies.
Yeah.
Issue 4 just came out. I thoroughly enjoyed the first 3 issues. And of course, it's exactly what you would think, like what happens if everyone got a genie and had their wish? You get everything from, being able to have, superpowers to, being werewolf or being, having like cool armor and all this different stuff, bringing people back to life. And I enjoyed the first 3 issues, and I get where this 4th issue went because they talk about like phases. So obviously everybody in the beginning wishes for the most extreme things, and now they're in this what's called the superhero phase. Because the main character, the bartender, Mr. Williams, he talks about these things. And then there's this at the end of issue 4, there's this giant reveal. Obviously, I'm not going to reveal it, but we're at the halfway point, and it's going to be interesting, where it goes, because then it also sets up the next phase of the Earth, like what would happen, obviously, with the genie. So definitely honorable mentions if you can find them, whether it's second, third printings, whatever the case may be. Definitely check out 8 Billion Genies. But definitely
Justin,
pick of the week. What's up?
I read. Oh, sorry. I thought that wasn't your pick of the week. My bad. I'm gonna wait.
No, that was my honorable mention.
Okay, go ahead. Keep going.
But pick of the week. I mean, we just talked about it. Predator number 1, Ed Brisson, man. Haven't had a Predator title. Same thing. Haven't had a brand new Predator title since like 2015, 2016. They've done, they've come out again with like the trades for like the older Predator stuff and Alien vs. Predator stuff. But man, Predator number 1 by Ed Brisson, you have a brand new character. Her name's like Tita, and you have her little drone droid friend named Sammy, and it's some interesting stuff, man. So obviously, what happens when you have a woman in the Predator world? Obviously, her parents get killed. Now she's hunting, looking for this specific predator, and just like predators who keep their trophies, this chick keeps the helmets of the predators, and it's pretty badass. So issue 1 came out. There was a ton of variants. I picked up at least 3 different variants. I thought it was awesome, and I think it's a perfect timing because Prey just came out last week. It's getting great reviews, so I'm sure a lot of people were like, hey, now check out issue number 1. So man, my pick of the week, Predator number 1. I'm so happy for this series because I really didn't like Aliens, but I think with Predator they can go a completely different direction.
Yeah, I agree. I didn't pick anything. Sorry, I just said that I'm reading literally everything. But
no, that works.
No, yeah, go ahead.
X-Men Legends 1, man. I'm surprised. Yeah,
it's good. It was good.
Yeah, I like it,
but strange, right? Like what with the time
Yeah, it kind of filled a
framework.
gap that maybe you didn't really know about with Wolverine. Yeah, it's good. It's just there's so much good X-Men right now that like kind of those. I feel like these titles like they had the other X-Men Legends run, and even there's like a Wolverine patch miniseries, which kind of been a slog to get through, which sucks because
Yes.
it's Larry Hama,
No, it's
and
weird.
I just was like I've not been really enjoying that, but it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Justin, I read Golden Rage though finally.
All right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude.
yeah,
Have
it
you
was
seen that
good.
Golden Rage, BC? No.
None.
All right. So check out Golden Rage. It's from Image Comics. But yeah. So what'd you think about it, Zach?
Yeah, I mean, Hard Knocks Collectibles, one of our big listeners, he told me about it in the DMs, and then you picked it up and you read it as well. It's cool. I'm interested. I think I might need to reread it again because I was kind of like breezing through it. I was in a hurry at the end, but I really liked it. I'm interested in what the lore is of this island with a bunch of these old bags that live on it, and see
Yeah.
where it goes. But
It's always tough the first time around because it's a world building experience.
right,
Like any
exactly.
brand new #1, it's always like where if it's not in like rural Kansas, it's just
Right.
like you need to learn all this stuff.
Yeah, but it
So,
was
yeah.
cool. There's definitely some interesting themes in it for sure. So
Yeah.
it's only 5 issues too, which is
Yeah, so far I think that's the limited series, but who knows if it gets picked up for an ongoing after
Yeah.
that. But good. I'm glad you checked it out. So that's it for us here, the podcast on season 2, episode 31. We want to thank my man Blakk Crown Comics for coming on here again. One of several Canadians who will be on the podcast this month. Before we get out of here, BCC, let people know again where they could find you.
You can find me on YouTube with the Comic Kingpins, man. So just check us out, Comic Kingpins. We go live every Monday, 7 p.m. Eastern. And on Instagram, you can find me, Blakk Crown _Comics, Black being BLAKK, Crown _Comics.
Cool. And you obviously the Comic Kingpins, like you said earlier, has a ton of shows. It's not just one show. So there's all different shows that they could check out, not just a live thing. And that's really awesome. And I know you've had some guests on there as well. So everyone, make sure you go check out BCC, especially on YouTube. And I know randomly you show up on that guy Newbie Comic shows too.
Oh yeah, that guy. There's something that pulls me into a newbie verse. I have like this portal here. It just pulls me in every Sunday.
So short. He's so short, and you just feel so elevated above him.
Exactly.
Zach, what about you? Closing words?
No, shit, man, it's been a week. I don't know. I'm like scared and anticipating what we're gonna hear from this week in Boston, but man, the world got shook this week, and I'm excited to see what happens on the tail end.
Awesome. Well, again, for myself, we really appreciate everybody who stopped by the YouTube channel. I know typically we don't do live shows. We've seen the analytics. I've seen how many views that video got, and we appreciate any of our new listeners. Continue to check us out here on the Comic-Con podcast. Every Friday we drop our episodes. Zach and I kind of talked about it, maybe possibly doing a live show at least once a month to kind of get that interaction with everybody. So that's it for season 2, episode 21, and we'll catch you next week. Peace out, everybody.